my deck. I realize I'm taking you on a slow tour of my house and surrounding area, so that's interesting. Hopefully the backgrounds keep you entertained when I'm not talking about anything. Those are some really noisy crickets. But anyway, to business, I guess. Not that I really know what I'm going to talk about, but I have a couple of notes. Jeff, yesterday you asked me to tell you about the brain. I'm not sure why exactly you asked me, although the brain is interesting. But I don't really know very much about it yet. And I did a little bit of Google searching, and then I decided that I didn't really want to talk about thought processes because they're a bit complicated. So instead I'm going to tell you about cellular memory, which may or may not be related. You'll have to decide that for yourself. I'm currently reading this book, which is good, and if you like quiet books where not a lot happens but it's very well written, this is the book for you. One of the themes in it, though, is cellular memory. And cellular memory being the idea that individual cells retain some kind of memory, whatever that definition for that word may be, of their previous owner. I guess the best way to explain this is to talk about specific cases. In the book, there is a man who has recently had a heart transplant, and subsequent to the heart transplant he begins to have visions and memories of being murdered, basically, which is presumably how his donor died, and the idea is that he is remembering these things not because they happened to him, but because the heart is remembering them, which is quite interesting, so I did a little bit of Googling about that. I didn't learn much that I haven't learned in the book already. Science isn't really sure whether it's, legitimate or not. I think it's an interesting idea. What I did learn, which was most interesting, was that the heart actually has its own nervous system, which is why heart transplants work. Because the heart and the brain, the heart is here, isn't it? Because the heart and the brain are apparently connected through the spine, with nerves, which makes sense, obviously they have to be. But when a heart transplant happens, then obviously you have to cut the heart out, so you have to sever those nerves, and then subsequently the heart actually manages to keep beating in the new person because it has its own nervous system which controls it, which is pretty interesting. I think I knew that in a vague sense, but not quite like that. And I guess the question that comes out of cellular memory is, do cells have consciousness? What is consciousness? What is consciousness? That is the big question. But I'm not going to try and answer it because I would like to talk about the awesomeness of YouTube. And not mosquitoes. Look, I caught it! Jeff, I'm so glad you enjoyed the Jeff Train. The Jeff Train was lots of fun to make. And as you say, nobody's going to understand it, but the amazing thing is that so many people will still find it amusing. Because, let's face it, how could you not love the Jeff Train? But more to the point, as you say, YouTube is pretty wonderful. I mean, we knew that, right? Because without YouTube, I wouldn't be talking to you and James and Spencer. And we know that that's wonderful. But I think what I like especially about YouTube, and perhaps especially about 49th, but yeah, about YouTube in general, is the juxtaposition of silly and serious, in that we can have these complex philosophical discussions all week, and then come Friday, toilet paper mummy, or duct tape Spencer, or ice pants. Ice pants is one of my favorites. But yeah, I really think it's the juxtaposition of silly and serious that makes it so good and so effective, partly perhaps because this is what life is like, the juxtaposition of silly and serious in life. I really like the word juxtaposition. But yeah, as you say, Jeff, I love that we can just do stupid stuff and people enjoy it. Or even if we don't do stupid stuff and we just sit here not really talking about anything, people still seem to enjoy that. As for consciousness, I'd be very interested to see what all you guys think consciousness is. So if you want to talk about something interesting, we could talk about consciousness. Or you could just wrap yourself in bubble wrap and jump off the roof. That would also be acceptable. Because on Across the 49th, anything goes. And with that, James, I'll see you tomorrow.